I know the Packers probably felt very confident in themselves being able to get a top 2 seed, especially going into Detroit. They probably figured they would easily get a win. It didn't quite work out that way. They got down for a pretty decent part of the game actually and down multiple scores, but they did do a good job of coming back. And I know a lot of Packers fans are going to be concerned about this game. In my opinion, though, sometimes these games are what you need. They're wake up calls, and when things don't go necessarily the way you want them to, still finding a way to come back and get a win, I mean, that's what separates the good teams from the great teams, and who knows, they might be a great team. I feel like they're an interesting team right now because they're 13-3, so record wise, they've been fantastic. They've been doing a great job of winning their games, but it does seem like they've been sloppy in some of their games. You know, they barely beat the Lions here. They've also gotten blown out by a team like the 49ers. Granted, the 49ers are great, but, you know, can the Packers beat the 49ers? We just don't know. They also lost handedly to the Chargers, but that being said, they did find a way to defeat the Detroit Lions, and let's just get into how they were able to do it. We'll start things off with this play. First things first, it's going to be man coverage. I don't have the entire play on the screen right now, and the reason for that is because I'm not actually exactly sure what the entire play is because the Lions are going to screw up here. Somebody isn't going to do their job. And really, just take a look at Green Bay's tight end right here. So first things first, he goes out to block. Pretty simple, you know, you probably expect that there's going to be some sort of a chip here where he blocks an edge rusher, then a tackle has plenty of space to then get in good position to make this block, meaning that you don't really have to worry about that Lion player. Makes a ton of sense, and, you know, so that's what Detroit is expecting here. But the thing is, if you look, nobody else is around him. I mean, watch, right when he gets off that block, he is just wide open. So somebody screwed up, somebody was supposed to be covering him, and they're not. It's a 3rd down and 9 here, and you really don't want to leave someone completely uncovered in this situation. However, Detroit screwed up, and, you know, I mean, that's why they're a 3-12-1 team, is because they make mistakes like that. But anyways, so you have Jimmy Graham open now, but if you look at Rodgers, he hasn't noticed this yet. I mean, he's looking downfield, looking for the first read on display, but he may not like what he sees, but he also probably looks up and realizes, wait a second, there is seemingly more Lions defenders deep than there should be, considering the fact that we have a tight end running out to the bottom half of the screen. And the second he realizes that, he looks over, hits Graham, and Graham is able to run for a ton of yards. So again, great play by Jimmy Graham, of course, to run the rest of the way, and obviously a bad play by the Lions to not cover Jimmy Graham. Seems like you ideally would want to keep a tight end covered. But that being said, you also have to give credit to Rodgers for just figuring that out. And that's kind of what I look for in some of these situations is not necessarily do you play perfectly, because sometimes you just can't play perfectly. Sometimes things just don't work out. But can you take advantage of certain situations? And that's exactly what Aaron Rodgers was able to do. There was also this play where it's going to be man coverage that Green Bay is going up against. And it's also a 3rd down and 10 at the 20-yard line. You're down 14 points, so being able to convert here would absolutely be huge. And for Green Bay, what they're going to do is they're going to trust their best receiver. I mean, one of my biggest problems with the Green Bay defense has been, I feel like they're a bit too Davante Adams-centric. I think they rely on him a bit too much. I think they don't have enough other guys who can really make plays, although I do like Lazard. I don't know how much I trust the rest of their receiving core. However, they're going to put the ball in Davante Adams' hand because he's running that route right there, which is actually a great route against this type of coverage. He can break to the outside, and since he's breaking as though he's going in, this now means that any safety in the area will probably run towards the middle of the field. And then once he cuts out, it could essentially create some space for him, and Rodgers is pretty good at hitting him, so that's the way this play is designed to work. And after the ball is snapped, I mean, you're going to notice that it works out perfectly. I mean, not only does he just own his own one-on-one matchup, but also the safety totally thought that it could be a run to the middle of the field. It is not. Adams is running to the bottom half of the screen, and there's just so much space right here. Rodgers isn't going to miss this throw 99 out of 100 times. Adams easily makes the catch, and just like that, it's a one-score game, and now the Packers are back in it. And that's kind of what you have to do. It's like, sometimes just make a couple plays and you can get right back in it when you had been getting really blown out in the first half, you know? Sometimes that happens, but find a way to win, and that's what the Packers did, and that play was a great example of it, and so will this next play. Once again, man coverage, and once again, Green Bay has a perfect route against this type of coverage. You're down 7 at this point, it's 20-13, and so once again, 3rd down and 10. It's actually a very similar situation to last time, except that now you're down 7 instead of down 14. But that's the route that Rodgers is going to want to hit here. It's a great route against this type of coverage because it's cutting in, so there could be some separation against the one-on-one matchup that his receiver will be in. And also there's one safety who's going to be deep, and he's going to be actually closer towards the bottom half of the screen, so this is a good situation for Green Bay. But after the ball is snapped, you will notice that the Detroit Lions defender is doing a pretty good job of having pretty tight coverage right now. So for Rodgers, he does have a pretty small window he's going to have to fit this ball into. But that's what Rodgers did. He was able to make a very good throw. They get the touchdown, and that's really what they needed. They needed that touchdown there. They were able to get it. So now you're not just down 4, you're tied it up, and just like that, a game that seemingly has gone terrible for most of it, for 55 minutes of it, now you're tied and in a great situation to come back and win it. So let's get into that final drive. It's now 2020. There's 51 seconds left. And for Green Bay, they are going up against man coverage, which is actually great news for the Packers because their 2 receivers on the bottom half of the screen are going to be running those 2 routes, and actually they're doing the same thing on the top half of the screen. And this is a great way to beat this type of coverage, especially because you look at how far a couple of those corners playing man are playing off. This can be a great way to gain some yards. It's a 2nd down and 6, so you can hopefully get the first down here, and obviously you only need to get about 30 more yards to feel confident with Mason Crosby, who is pretty good in those clutch situations. However, there's going to be one problem, and it's going to be that Detroit Lion right over there, as he's going to do a great job of winning his own one-on-one matchup, and now there's pressure for Rodgers, so he's in trouble. He has to roll out to the top half of the screen. But if you look, he actually has 2 receivers who are open. One of those is Devontae Adams running to the bottom half of the screen. He's even calling for it, saying, hey, I'm open. But the problem is Rodgers would have to throw that one completely across his body, and typically you don't want to do that. So especially when he has another receiver running up to the top half of the screen, it just makes way more sense to make that throw. That's what Rodgers does, and they do gain some yards here and are able to continue moving the drive down the field. That's a pretty big play, actually. Getting the first down, not even having to worry about a 3rd down, and really just getting to play whatever play call you want to have next, because you don't have to worry about getting a first down, so you can kind of do anything. You've opened up the playbook for your offensive coordinator, and he would say, okay, well, let's dial up a screen pass here. It absolutely makes some sense. We have an elite halfback. Let's put the ball in his hands. So he's going to try to get out in between the guard and the tackle, and then they're also going to have a left guard move out to lead block. That's the way this play is going to work. Nothing too fancy, but it actually isn't going to work out too well right when the ball is snapped. So pressure is coming straight to Rodgers, which, okay, that happens on screen passes. You kind of want to let your opposing defenders get straight to the quarterback because he's going to get rid of the ball pretty quickly. So that way you can just sort of let your halfback have the ball and there won't be any other defenders in the area. However, the problem with this is if you look at Jones, he can't get out here. There's pressure. I think maybe a Lion realized what was going on and is trying to push Jones back because he doesn't have much space right now. He can't really get free. So what is Rodgers going to do? He's going to run up to the top half of the screen. He hits Jones. An offensive lineman even falls down. But Jones is able to run the ball all the way into field goal range. And that was it. They were able to kick a field goal as time expired to defeat the Detroit Lions. Again, maybe you shouldn't feel great about this, I know some people are going to be saying, because, if you probably told the Packers that they would beat the Lions on a last-second field goal, they'd be like, well, that's not great. But at the end of the day, sometimes in a game like this, weird things are going to happen. In a divisional game, the second time you played them, when they have nothing to play for, so therefore nothing to lose, and they're at home, sometimes just weird things are going to happen. So I wouldn't be too worried. Look, the Patriots lost to the Dolphins today, so these kind of weird things happen. However, I just do have to say, I still am worried about the Packers, but you know what? To me, this is a promising win to a degree, and we'll see what they can do in the playoffs. While I keep saying that I think they're a year away, at the end of the day, they're still having a bye week, and I even put $10 down on them to win the Super Bowl like a couple weeks ago, because I was like, these odds are incredible. I think I'm going to win like $120 if they win it. It seems like a pretty easy bet on that one. I don't know why people are so low on them in that sense. I guess I'm low, but not that low. So, yeah, that's what I think of the Green Bay Packers heading into the playoffs. You have a bye week, and that's the goal to start the season, is just get one of those byes. That's what they were able to do. So, I think it's a good thing for the Packers. I would be optimistic if I'm a Packers fan. And it should at least be fun because they did, unfortunately, miss the playoffs the past 2 seasons. So, it's cool to see the Packers and Aaron Rodgers back in it. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thanks for watching.